The Xbox Drive is powered by patrons at patreon.com/YumiCapri. And I want to say thank you to all of our patrons over there, especially our Diamond executive producers, Jonathan Brown and Slimer Snarf, our Platinum producer, Dallas Ford, and our Gold members, Argo, Ashley Nicholson, James Johnson, Gene Kay, Marcus O'Neill, Skinny Matt, Trucker Sloth, and Xavier Reyes. Thank you, everybody, for all of your support. Hey everyone, it's me, Sean Capri. I'm in my car and you're listening to the most horsepowerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford. He's the man on the moose, and on our journey today, Sony believes in generations and exclusives. Just kidding. We get their exclusives on Game Pass, so jump on into the Xbox Drive. Ball, start salty, ball.
Greater than X.
Hello, Sean Capri.
I want people to know, Ryan Turford, before I ask you how you're doing, I want people to know that it's all in jokes. It's all in jest. I'm not trying to put out console war energy, but it is rather ironic, this situation that we find ourselves in. I'll start by saying that and finish by saying, how are you, my friend?
I am doing well. Yeah, I mean, I would assume by your very jokey nature that you're talking, and you're probably not being serious, but you never know.
I'm joking. Maybe it's just a joke.
Maybe this is just the way that Sean shows his true feelings, folks. I mean, obviously, that's not true. But I mean, it's a wonderful day here in Toronto. It's like 25 degrees outside.
Beautiful, beautiful, really perfect.
Like sunny and warm outside. It's very awful because it's like I've been inside most of the day, Sean, which means I haven't been outside when it's been nice out. But it's all good. It's all good because Sean.
I'm just realizing like what's in the car with me. People should be looking at the YouTube video. I'm like looking around. Like I share the truck with my wife, and she had some photo shoot today, and so there's lots of knickknacks and paddywhacks in the back there. So very interesting. Like what the heck is that? Anyway, you can't even see right now.
We're to call those objects in the car the Xbox Drive Easter eggs, Sean.
Nice.
Some eagle-eyed viewers will just go through and put like an itemized list in like the comments of this video or something like that.
Yeah, there's blankets. There's lots of stuff back there.
My God. Well, Sean, real quick before we jump into the show proper, obviously we got to clean the garage a little bit. So folks at home, if you like what we do and you want to support the show, of course, you can sub to us here at youtube.com/the Xbox Drive. Of course, each subscription goes a really long way and it really helps the show out. So we would love if you would come subscribe. Even if you don't watch the video, obviously we put up more than just the video podcast over there. Sean live streams from time to time. I'll be live streaming more when I move next month. It's going to be great. So there are reasons to check out the video side of things. Plus, we'll be when bigger games come out, we'll be doing more extra miles, and those will all be in video format. So check us out, youtube.com/the Xbox Drive. Also, if you would like to put a little tip in the old tip jar, head on over to patreon.com/YumiCapri to help support the show that way over on Patreon. Speaking of Patreon, segue. Wait, Sean, we have this pretty exciting announcement that we need to talk about here on the show, of course. We've talked about it and hinted a little bit with some of our patrons that this is something that's happening. But next week, April 15th, that's Thursday of next week, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be doing You, Me, and Capri Day, Sean. A full day of Sean and Ryan and guests, because we will actually be having special guests that day. So it's going to be a full day of streaming. Basically, we're going to talk about the future of Yumi and Capri, the future of our Patreon, as well as new announcements of cool things that you might be interested in. We're going to have some giveaways as well as some cool stuff. So I believe we're doing that over on your Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Sean Capri, correct?
Yeah, man. I'm so excited. I just need to, as excited as I am, I do need to address the number one thing is that the Yumi Capri Patreon was an endeavor that I partnered with Bobby Paul's a Nintendo guru, and of course we brought Ryan on somewhat recently into that because you play such a critical role in the production of this show and all that stuff. But I just want to acknowledge and remember Bobby in this moment. As excited as I am for what's coming next, it's been a difficult kind of exercise to go through to ostensibly like remove Bobby from it. It feels very final on that front. So I'm in two places of it. And I just want to acknowledge that a lot of what I do, if not even nothing that I've done, none of it would have happened without Bobby. So I just want to be mindful of of that as we look forward to what the future of my content is and what the future of your content is. I think it's really important for us to acknowledge what got us to this point. So we're always going to remember Bobby Pauls and what he's done for many of us. So yes, April 15th, the day after my son's birthday, we're dedicating a full day, twitch.tv/Sean Capri. And I'm just really, really excited, man. There's something that I've been working on with somebody that we'll speak with on stream. A project is underway, and I'm so excited to share it with everybody. And I think it's really exciting. I know you've got a project that you're working on that we're going to be talking about, so people can find out all the things that we're going to be doing as we make this transition, as we make this turn, my friend. Yeah, for sure. And everything you said about Bobby is 100% true for me as well. I mean, again, if it wasn't for Bobby, I wouldn't be on this show, let alone playing so much of a big part of, all of our content going forward. And I mean, like it definitely, this whole exercise is in dedication to Bobby and kind of everything that he really stood for. So obviously it needed to be said. So the main reason we wanted to bring this up as well is because this show will not go up at the normal time next week. We will be doing the show live during the broadcast next week. So we're going to release a schedule sometime soon that kind of goes over, when you can catch that. Of course, it'll go on the podcast feeds later that day. So if you want to check it out there, if you missed the live broadcast, you can definitely go there. But we'll be just a little bit later next week. So that's why we kind of wanted to mention it here before we go any further with the show. But enough about that, Sean. Let's grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It's time for the playlist. And Sean, you and I both played the same game this week, so we should probably talk about that game. Or at least I should say, preface with, we tried to play the same game this week. That game's Outriders, of course. We talked about Outriders a lot when the demo came out, Sean. And I don't know how much we can really say too much about it this week, because for the most part, you and I didn't really get a ton of time with it. As everyone knows, the servers were kind of all over the place with this game. It is an online-only game, even if you're playing by yourself. So you do need to play online in some capacity, and the servers were just crashing the whole weekend. Yeah, essentially. I pretty much chalked that up to A, it was the Easter weekend, so everyone had time off, and B, the game was on Game Pass, and everyone who was interested in this game was pretty much playing it on Xbox. So I think that just kind of killed the Xbox servers. So, Sean, I know you played this on the Series S, so why don't you talk about that experience a little bit? So I don't remember if I talked about it on the show last week, but I was thinking about maybe I get a Series S for the streams, maybe power my streams. And my wife was over at EB Games. She was there kind of taking the kids out, just kind of looking at Mario stuff and things like that. And I asked her if they have a Series S, maybe just ask, just see what happens. And I figured if they have one, then it was meant to be. And she's like, they have a used S for whatever price, and they've got a brand new S. And I'm like, what are the chances they have a used Series S? And then I realized they're talking about a 1S. She had the classic mistake of which one are they talking about? It was the, anyways, got the 1S, I just did it. Got the Series S, brand new, and I am in love with this thing, man, especially for my setup, which is, I don't know if it's totally unique, but I will now have my Series X on my 4K TV. I've got that LG NanoCell, which I really like, and I've got the Series S on my computer monitor, which is a 1440p. I think it's 165 hertz, so it's actually perfect. I can't really do 4K gaming on my computer screen, and I can't stream it. The bandwidth is just impossible for streaming 4K. So it's just this perfect use case for this tiny little cute little powerful machine. And tying it into Outriders, it looks fine. It definitely doesn't look as good as the Series X. When I go over to my TV and I've got the HDR and all the bells and whistles, wow, this looks amazing. But I'm not playing my Series S going, wow, this feels terrible. I'm just glad that it's a tiny little thing. And so many of the quality of life stuff that happens with the next gen consoles, the loading times and loading screens are amazing, and I'm going back and forth between the consoles without having to worry about anything. The cloud saves are just automatic. I'm not uploading and downloading or anything. It's just the game knows exactly where I'm leaving off. And I gotta say, man, I didn't think that I was going to be enjoying or valuing the Series S as much as I am. I just thought it was going to be it's going to be there. but it's tiny. I love the white controller, by the way, and I know that you spent a lot of time highlighting and celebrating the Series S when it came out, and you picked it up, but I'm a believer, man. I think that it's excellent, and I did not get this for review, paid with my own dollars, so take that to the bank, Brian Turford.
My God, to literally take that to the bank.
Take it to the bank.
Yeah. Honestly, everything you said about the Series S kind of echoes what I've felt playing the Series S. Because I mean, especially because going back and forth between games, because I use mine mostly for capture for this show. Like some of the Outriders footage you're going to see today, for example, was captured on the Series S that I have, and it's just like, yeah, it there's a little bit of visual difference, but it's not really that much of a difference. And the frame rates are the main thing, and the frame rates are just as solid on the Series S usually. 9 out of 10 times. There is the odd game like Crisis Remastered where it's terrible on the Series S.
Yeah.
But for the most part, on like with games like Outriders, like it's 60 frames per second on both, and it doesn't really look that much worse on my 1080p monitor versus my TV, which I think is a great thing. Like I love how in parity those two consoles really are. And they're, again, like you said, it's really built for 1080p in mind. And if you're just playing on a 1080p display, and if you don't have a 4K display, like you don't necessarily need like the Series X specifically, right? So.
It makes sense to do it that way. Yeah, and the one thing, I can't remember who shouted out to me, so they're probably listening, like, it was me. But somebody had pointed out while I was playing Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, what I had done was I had that game on my expansion storage that I brought from my Series X to my Series S. And in that case, I was like, ooh, that doesn't look very good at all. And somebody had said, well, if it's playing the game that you had installed on your Series X, it actually is not able to read like those high def texture packs. So I actually had to re-download that game on the Series S, and it looks totally fine. So I had like going back and forth with the storage pack. I've got to be a little bit more careful about which one's going to be, which games are going to be doing that, and which ones I want purely installed on the Series S versus Series X.
Yeah, and it's only like that with some games. Like for example, Marvel's Avengers, which I've had to play through a bunch of times now for capture. Whenever I transfer it back and forth, I don't run into that problem. But Call of Duty does run into that problem. Anytime I want to reinstall it, I have to re-download it. So a lot of times what I do with my Series S is I'll have a slower external drive, and then any Series S specific games I will actually I will copy to that drive and then copy them back to the Series S when I'm ready for them.
Yep, I got to get the same setup going, exactly the same. Because I'm going to run out of I've got Call of Duty installed, I've got Halo, and now Outriders, and that's about 70%, I think, of that little hard drive.
And you're pretty much out of space.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm almost. It's not quite as. I mean, I don't. There's so much help that comes with that storage pack. So I guess I'm not speaking from a totally unique perspective there. But yeah, I was kind of like, I went into it thinking I can't install anything. Like I can install Xero thing. I'm going to have to operate 100% from the storage expansion. So it's not quite the case. But I think a lot of people are going to find themselves in the same situation where you've got 3 or 4 big games, and that's kind of it. So. But otherwise, man, it is so good, and I don't know if you realize I snuck into one of your games. I was playing with you. I kind of just joined up on you with Outriders.
I didn't realize it until we were almost done playing, Sean. If it makes you feel better.
Well, I don't know what I feel very sneaky about it, but I have played hours, dude. I'm up to level 21. I'm in the my level doesn't match where I'm at with it though, because I keep jumping into other people's games in Outriders. I played with you, I've played with Ed Placencia, I played with a whole bunch of people, and I played with Jace from twitch.tv/Backaridge, and just like loving this game. Every time I find out something new, there's like all these quality of life stuff in addition to, I think, what we've discussed in the past about the gameplay. There's a lot of stuff in the modding and just how you actually interact with the game that I'm really, really impressed with, man. And good for the team. Like, what a huge, huge success story this is for, what is it, players? People Can Fly? People Can Fly, yeah.
And Square Enix, of all people, Sean, like that.
They did it.
I think that's a pretty good get for them. Like, honestly, Outriders was insanely popular this weekend. And I mean, you can tell just because of the server shutting down, but also we have hard data from Steam saying they had over 100,000 concurrents. It was the most.
It beat Borderlands.
It was like the most concurrent game this year so far on Steam. So
perfect timing for this thing. Huge boost from Game Pass, and also speaks to, like, bring it back to the Xbox side, was like this really is like a notch on the belt for Game Pass, and we're gonna talk about another one of those notches as well. And it's like this is getting taken up another level yet again. It's like this is a huge moment for Xbox and Xbox Game Pass because, you know, there's other games that have come and gone, but this is a big one. This is something that people I don't think would have been playing nearly as much, and it turns out that it's awesome and it's a big deal, and it's in this moment where there's nothing else happening. And to your point before, it's Easter weekend. Everybody was playing. It's like all the stars are aligned for this to be a big win for Xbox, I would say.
Yeah, honestly, the only thing to hold against it was the troubles at launch. Yeah, like if they worked perfectly fine, like this, like I think it would have really like gave this game a lot of legs right out the gate. But I think that this definitely soured a lot of people's opinions on it, or at least that's just what the chatter I'm kind of hearing a little bit about it. But
I guess I'm not. I feel like I kept going. Like if you were on Friday and Saturday, then it wasn't very good for you. But Sunday and Monday, it seemed way better actually.
Oh yeah, no. So, what I mean so much is the servers are working now, but I think once you kind of sour someone's play experience by, you know, a rough patch at the very beginning, you know, some people just aren't willing to give that game another chance.
I guess,
unless they pay for it.
That's why I'm reacting to it a little bit. Go play. Like if that was your experience, like don't give up on it because it's working now and it is absolutely worth your time. It is so much fun, especially as you start to like level up and get all of your abilities, and you can get into the modding game. You don't have to. Like it's perfectly playable without all those complexities. But I'm diving in deep on this game, Ryan Turford.
Yeah, honestly, I've really enjoyed all the moments I've had with it. Again, for the most part, I kind of, after all the server troubles this weekend, I was like, I'm just going to wait till Tuesday to play this game because I know by Tuesday it'll be working again. So I played it yesterday, and I got...
Hi there, can I get a large Diet Coke, please?
Will that be everything?
That's all.
Next window, please.
Thank you.
Yeah. I got okay. Like I got a semi-far. I'm like level 17. And one thing I really didn't appreciate about the game until after playing the full version from the demo is the world tier system. I think it's actually like a really cool difficulty scaling system. It reminds me actually of like the difficulty levels in Diablo.
Where it's
like
big time.
There's so many different like difficulty levels, and each one like the way they're scaled, I think scales really well. Obviously, if you have it set to the default option, which is to play constantly at the highest tier level of difficulty, you might find it to be kind of an uneven experience. But I think once you start to unlock the world tier levels, you can kind of find the world tier level that kind of, you know, fits you and kind of fits the difficulty you're looking for. And I think that actually expands the level of difficulty options in a much better way than just having like easy, hard, and normal mode.
Big time. Yes. No kidding. Thank you.
And it gives you some great rewards as well. So it gives you like extra experience gains. It gives you additional rewards just by unlocking world tiers. So I think the world tier system is actually really interesting and unique. And I love that they kind of took kind of what Blizzard did with Diablo's difficulty system between the different torment levels and as well as the levels at the beginning, and then kind of put that into like a third person shooting game. Like I think that's
big time.
A really cool idea. So yeah.
Well, Ryan, the last thing that I would say about that on that note is like with Diablo, like you can really only do so many things in terms of the combat. Like you're basically holding down A, at least on consoles, and you're firing away, using your abilities. And there's definitely like min-maxing that's going to happen with your gear and stuff. But all of that applies to Outriders. But the thing is that like the way that you manage your health in the combat, I think is really awesome. And it's similar to the stuff we see in games like Bloodborne that reward you for being aggressive. Outriders rewards you for playing in a particular style, like to use your powers and then to regain some of that health back. Like that was unfolding for me as the weekend went on, and luckily I was streaming it because people were telling me like use your melee because it helps you regain some of your health back, at least in my case as a trickster. So there's all these little like pieces that if you're wanting to advance the world tier, there's elements of the combat that you can employ that allow you to do that instead of just going like I hope I end up with good gear so that I can go to the next level. It's if you elevate and evolve your approach to the combat scenarios, you're going to be able to take on like World 5, World 6, World 7 and beyond and stuff like that.
Yeah, the combat system like at first seemed like really simplistic, but like
basic,
as you go on in the game, it's like it becomes very complex, which I really dig as well. So I've been loving exploring the game again. It's just one of those things where I wish I would have been able to play more of it, but again, it's one of those things where I think maybe we'll talk about this more next week.
I might be the game before Ryan Turford. I think I'm ahead of you on this, and this is very encouraging for me, Ryan.
I did play a lot of Tales of Grace's F this week, Sean, and watched a lot of anime. So
I knew something. There must have been something.
Yeah, and honestly, you're probably going to get more game time than me over the next couple of weeks, Sean. I have to start packing soon. So I'm going to probably definitely be losing some game time to that. But again, I'm very excited to dive deep in Outriders. And my mission is to finish this before Nier comes out, because that's the next big game I'm like very excited for in a few weeks.
Yeah,
so
yeah, big time.
Anyways, Sean, I'm slamming the brakes on this conversation because it's time for some breaking news. It's 20 minutes into the show. We got to get moving.
All right, get going.
So first news story, and this one's a big one that obviously you've heard everyone else talk about by now, but like lo and behold, this news came out like maybe like a day after we recorded last week's show. MLB The Show 21 is coming to Xbox Game Pass on day one, aka April 20th. This will include the Xbox Series X and S version of the game at no additional charge. And the reason I point that out is because two really big games came to PlayStation Now this week, Avengers and Borderlands, and they don't include the PlayStation 5 versions, which I think is hilarious.
My God, what are they doing over there?
I don't know.
Coming.
It's only the
my
PS4
gosh.
versions of those games, and I don't know why they did that. But that's not the case over on Xbox Land because we got smart delivery.
No.
So MLB The Show 21, huge get for Xbox Game Pass. Now, obviously, it's a good thing we're covering this now, Sean, because we did get a little bit of information about how this all came about. And it's as we suspected, everyone kind of suspected this. MLB 100% confirmed that, yes, they're the ones who got to negotiate this because there wasn't anything in the contract that said they couldn't. So there you go. It's 100. Like, even though it's weird to see a Sony game on a Microsoft platform, it's definitely not because Sony negotiated this deal. It's because this is very much a MLB's trying to get eyes on this game, especially on a new platform. And that's why they took this opportunity and the check from Microsoft, I think, to do that, to make that happen. So, Sean, what are your reactions knowing all this to MLB The Show coming to Game Pass day and date?
So many thoughts. No additional cost for Game Pass people, or for Game Pass members. If you have an Xbox, you got to have Game Pass already. This just puts another notch in that belt. It makes Sony look so silly on a number of fronts, but at least on the consumer standpoint, Sony's going, please buy our game that we made and we've had it as an exclusive over here. And please buy it on our system. By the way, it costs $70. We know that you can get it at no additional cost, and you're probably already subscribed to Game Pass over on Xbox. Like, it's the them digging their heels into the sand about their $70 price point, which is now being flipped on its head. Now you can play it on Xbox, and you can get it for free quotations. It's massive. It's massive. And the last thing I'll say before throwing it over to you, Ryan, is that I was a little bit worried that that this big game, this big Sony exclusive was going to come over to Xbox and that nobody would buy it. And then it was sort of like flop. It's sort of like when EA puts games on Switch and they go like, you don't even want these things. This takes care of that concern 1,000%. Whether or not people are going to buy it or not, it's a huge deal, and everybody's going to play it on Game Pass. Like, I had no interest in buying this game, and I'm absolutely going to play it because I also think it's a graphical showcase. This is going to show what the Series X is possible, similar to what it has always shown what's possible on PlayStation and this year with PlayStation 5. So it eliminates that worry that it was going to be this big deal and then nobody bought it, and we'd get those numbers thrown in our face that 5 trillion copies sold over on PlayStation and 20,000 copies sold on Xbox. So it's win, dude. Amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I've seen so many comments over the weekend of people reacting to this news saying, you know what, I really don't have interest in this game, but I'm going to try it now because it's on Game Pass. Like, I think that is the exact thing MLB was going for with this move, because it was very much trying to get people that weren't going to give this game a chance. And even though it had the MLB name on it, not every MLB fan actually knows that about the show and knows it's a thing, or knows how good it is. Because especially when we have games like RBI Baseball out there, which aren't very good. Yeah. So not knowing anything about the show, not knowing if it's a good game or not, I think it would have been risky, or I should say it was a more risky play to put it on Xbox without giving it the exposure it kind of needed to grow that audience. Which is why I think this move makes so much more sense. Because even if they only do it this year, Sean, I think this is going to grow a much larger audience on Xbox for the future of MLB The Show than it ever would have if it was never on Game Pass.
That was going to be my question to you. Like, do you think they can pull this off 2 years in a row? It seems like maybe they surprised Sony with this a little bit. Like, is this a multi-year deal, do you think, already? Or do you think they go for a multi-year deal? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that with Game Pass, I think Sony's going to try and find a way to make it so they can't do this again. Like, whether it's some kind of legal ramifications, or maybe there's something else in the contract that they can like throw out there that, hey, you can't keep doing this kind of thing, or maybe
Like, does
Sony
Sony even
just
want to make it anymore?
That's what I was about to say. Like, maybe Sony decides they don't want to make the game anymore. Like, maybe it's not worth it to them.
Just
if
hand
they
over
know
this
it's gonna
big win
end
over to
on
Xbox.
Game Pass. Yeah. Not only that, but from the MLB side of things, I think after the first year, they might be incentivized not to put it on Game Pass because they've already grown the audience from the first year of it being on Game
Interesting.
Pass.
Yeah.
So it kind of just depends on how sales go for this outside of Game Pass, I think, is going to really tell
Right.
the story for them. Because again, MLB is in it to make money. And if the Game Pass model isn't making the money, then like if the loss of potential sales is more than the whatever cash they're getting from Microsoft is, they're not going to want to do this again. So I think there's a bunch of factors that probably, to me, I think it says that they won't do it more than twice.
Yeah.
They might do it again next year, but like beyond that, I think I wouldn't count on it every year. But again, we'll see. I mean, who knows? I mean, times are a changing, my friend. Like I never expected this would ever happen. So.
Exactly. Like it's now we're at a point. I don't know if there's a question about this later, but now we're at a point where there's a banger like in Outriders, then there's a banger with MLB, and there's rumors about something happening with like a first-person shooter in the fall, and maybe people are thinking that it's Battlefield. It's like there are so many third-party things that are happening. I think it's super interesting, and I can't remember where I saw it, but somebody was like, "Damn, Microsoft has got like the sports game down again." You know, like
100%.
So and I'm curious because of the whole EA Play thing. You get all your sports games over there now. I'm curious about if there's anything going to happen with PGA Tour with the Tiger Woods one, or if it's just going to be EA's golf game that's happening over there. But all of a sudden, third-party market is cornered with Game Pass. All of a sudden, sports, which is a huge deal, lives on Xbox. You and I have talked about this a lot in the past about like what is the identity of first-party games, and it's like it's actually beyond what just the first-party games is. It's what types of games, whatever type of game that you want to play. It's like they kind of live on Xbox via Game Pass now.
Yeah, and I think they're definitely. At this point, they're kind of setting themselves up to be like the de facto sports platform.
Exactly.
For all major sports. Like, I think the real tell, though, is what happens if, like, they throw a whole bunch of money at EA and they get Madden day and date. Like, how crazy would something like that be? Because Madden is one of the biggest sellers every single year. Or even, like, or even bigger, like, what if they got a game like FIFA day and date, which is always in the top 10 every single year across worldwide sales for games. Like, well, I think they could go in a bunch of different directions with this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they would like because they kind of have a great relationship with EA Play right now, which gets them the trials on day one, and then eventually, like NHL 21, I think just came to Game Pass, and that's through EA Play. That's when it goes into the vault over there. So, like, whether or not you're getting games on day one or whatever, I think your sports experience on Game Pass is just so good all of a sudden.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Sean, we got to move on because we're running out of time here. Speaking of Game Pass, though, I wanted to highlight real quick the games that are coming to Game Pass because we got a little Game Pass snippet of an announcement. Grand Theft Auto 5, though, coming to Game Pass tomorrow. It was on Game Pass before, then it got removed. Now it's back. So if you're not one of the 100 million people who bought Grand Theft Auto 5, it's on Game Pass now. So you can go grab it there. Zombie Army 4 Dead War is coming to Game Pass on April 8th. And then NHL 21 coming to Game Pass on April 12th. And then Rain on Your Parade, April 15th on Game Pass. That's a weird looking indie game there. So interesting little snippet. Also, they announced too that over 50 games with this Game Pass announcement are going to be available with touch controls. So whole bunch of different games. Again, this is kind of with that Bethesda announcement where they talked about how a bunch of games that were already on Game Pass and then lumped them in with some announcements. So most of those games already have touch controls, but a game like Grand Theft Auto 5 with touch controls I think is really interesting.
That's awesome.
I'm curious to see how that'll actually play, but
yeah,
it's kind of cool how where they're going with Game Pass on this one. But some good gets for Game Pass. Well, next up, Sean, this news actually really made me happy. E3 is officially coming back in digital form this year. It will happen on June 12th through 15th and will have participation from numerous publishers, including Xbox, Nintendo, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two, WB Games, and Koch Media, aka THQ Nordic. So, Sean, how hype are you that E3 is back?
Dude, it's video game Christmas. Like, of course, this is something I've been screaming about forever. And it seems like maybe the internet might even be excited about this, man. I noticed that there was somebody missing from that group. You listed a lot of companies. There seemed like at least one was missing. It was Nintendo? Was Nintendo missing from that?
No. I mentioned Nintendo.
Oh, no, you mentioned Nintendo. No, you're right. You mentioned Nintendo. Who was missing from that, Ryan?
Activision Blizzard. They weren't there.
Oh, no. Who else? Anybody else?
Square Enix.
Oh, damn. Anybody else? Damn. It's not going how I wanted it to go.
Electronic Arts.
Sony is not there. Sony's there. Xbox and Nintendo is there, and Sony is not going to be there because they're a bunch of spoil sports. And why don't you want to participate in our E3? I would love for Sony to be there, and I want all the press conferences to go back to back to back. But I'm stoked, man. My only decision now, and maybe we chat about this, is like, do we take this time off? Do we take a little bit of time off and get our big old feast of video game Christmas all at once? I'm not sure what to expect exactly. It seems like this is what I want. The 3 days. It says that the press conferences, the showcases are coming back. So that's kind of all I need, you know?
It also says the showcases and press conferences are happening on those 3 days, though. So before, during E3, you'd have the press conferences before E3 would start.
Right.
But now it sounds like the press conferences are happening during E3 this year. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Like the Microsoft conference is going to be probably on the 12th, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And that's when we hear about that. Not only that, but that's probably when we're going to see the Bethesda showcase, because they did talk about how there's a Bethesda showcase coming this summer.
Ooh.
So I would imagine that'll be in the same window. What's really interesting to me about this list, though, Sean, Konami is on this list. Why is Konami on this list? Because when was the last time Konami came out with games that weren't pachinko machines? So
I don't know, man. Why not wait to such a weird year for them to come back? Like, yeah.
That's a really interesting company that I'm going to be keeping my eye on. But we got two questions about this that I want to make sure we have time to get to. We're going to start with Dan at Dano12, and he asks, E3, what do you expect to be announced? More Game Pass related game trailers to last year's announcements? Which new games are going to be announced? Sean, what do you expect from Xbox this year at E3, if anything?
Forza, and I want a car, Ryan. I want Forza to come out. I think it's going to come out in the summertime. I think we're going to get... I kind of like the way that Nintendo does E3, where they go like, this is our one game. Like, it's been Zelda in the past. It's been Super Smash Brothers in the past. Like, I think it would be really interesting if Xbox did something similar like that with Halo. But I counter that immediately and go, they have, like, through Game Pass, they could talk about dozens and dozens and dozens of games. What I would like for them really, like, is if I ran Xbox, I would love for them to lay out a roadmap that went, in July, this is the big game that you're going to get. It's going to be some third party or their first party thing. This is going to be your day and date game. That's a big deal in July. In August, this is your big deal game that's going to come day and date. And they can have this nice mix of third party deals that they've worked out, like Outriders and MLB The Show, or it can be things like maybe Forza Horizon 5 is ready and we'll be getting it this year. So I think things like that. How about you?
Yeah, I'm with you, where I think the only game announcement, if we get a game announcement from Microsoft there, will be Forza. Otherwise, I think we're going to see a big reveal for Halo Infinite there, which, again, is what we really wanted to see. And then Psychonauts 2, they will definitely talk about that because that's the only other release we know from Microsoft this year. But I think all their games are still 2022 at the earliest for the rest of them. So I don't anticipate seeing many updates on anything else. They may still touch on some 2022 stuff, but I think that they're going to be light on that.
It's got to be, like we got to look at what the holiday season is going to look like. And I also just want to very quickly mention that I signed up, I did a survey for Forza. It seems that people are going to be able to get their hands on Forza Motorsport, the next Forza game, through some play testing. And you can go sign a survey and you might be picked. It's almost like, it seems like an alpha stage type of deal. So just wanted to point that out there.
Very nice. All right. I'm going to bring in Blaze Knight because he also asked a question about this at Blaze Knight 0923. And he asks, what Xbox first-party games are you most hoping to or excited to see new trailers from at the Digital E3 showcase coming up this summer? And honestly, I think we kind of answered this question a little bit, but for me, it's Halo and Psychonauts and Forza. I think those are the main three that I'm really hoping to see. And anything else, I kind of just want to see. I'm with you, Sean. I just want to see Game Pass deals. I think really that's kind of the extent of what I'm hoping to see or what I'm excited to see anyways. But I'm trying to keep my expectations in check a little bit. Because I don't want to throw too many crazy things out there. Because whenever I do that, I'm always wrong, Sean. And I don't.
Well, I'll throw out the crazy. I want Xbox to do what Sony does a little bit here and just go like, if you have a game coming out in the next 5 years, let's see it, man. Let's see a little bit of Perfect Dark. Let's see a little bit of Hellblade 2 and all these things, and get people buying consoles now for games that they're not going to play for another couple of years. I don't think that that's actually what's going to happen, because Phil Spencer's been burned by that type of marketing in the past with Scalebound and stuff like that. So I immediately pull it back, but I part of me just wants to get a little aggressive and just go like, this is what the next 3 years of your Xbox is going to look like. I think that would be really, really good, because at this point, I don't think we know much at all with what we're going to be playing over the next little while.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think their fall from Microsoft first party is going to be light, but I think third party, games I think are going to be huge on Xbox this year. So that's more what I'm expecting to see. Well, let's let some of our friends into the car with us as well that we're not asking E3 related questions. It's time for the carpool. We're going to start with Zero Skill at Zero Skill 1. And he asks, I was thinking about all of the innovation that Xbox has brought to this generation. You as gaming consumers, are you more excited about partnerships, i.e. exclusives and Game Pass deals, or tech and innovation? Keep up the amazing work, guys. Love the show. It's got traction. See what he did there, Sean? He gave a little,
carp pun.
So, Sean, what excites you more about the Xbox brand, like the tech and innovation of Xbox, or the partnerships like exclusives and Game Pass deals?
So if I'm thinking about, I'm still kind of thinking about E3, and if I'm thinking about like what would make a really exciting show is they kind of always have like that one part about it. They go like they give you a bit of that tech innovation. They've talked about smart delivery at one point, and then of course backwards compatibility, like some of these advancements. I think like you get one of those for every like maybe 4 or 5 big deal gets is kind of the ratio. I don't want to go like one or the other, because I think both are exciting. And when I think about my time with my Series S, as I mentioned, like load times are awesome, and the cloud saves and the smart delivery, like all those things, they add up big time, especially when thinking about how things are working over in PlayStation land. So I think those are a big deal. And if you land the right one, it can have that like that crowd reaction when Phil Spencer said backwards compatibility is coming to Xbox One, and everybody lost their mind. I would love to see what they've got up their sleeve for that next, like, what is the back compat team working on? What are their engineers working on that's going to make playing games that much better? I do like that. But dude, holy crap. I mean, I started the show throwing shade at Sony that we got an exclusive Sony game coming over to Xbox, and it's coming to Game Pass. Like that, those are the punch to the guts. Those are the things that people will remember, and those are the types of things that I think, at least in the short term, change perspective and change behavior and have people going like, maybe it is Xbox. And when they get there, they go, thank goodness for all these technical things. I don't know that anybody changes their mind about what platform to play because of smart delivery or backwards compatibility. Those are the things that matter for the people who are already there. So I hope that actually makes sense. I feel pretty good about that response.
That makes sense. Yeah. For me, I don't know if I would say I'm in a similar vein, but I think that obviously you can't have one of these things without the other. I think in a way they're intrinsically timed together. Like you can't have exclusive partnerships or great games for Game Pass if the tech isn't there, or vice versa. You can't, like, what good is good tech without the games? So for me, honestly, the thing that always matters most to me is the games. I mean, regardless of I don't really care too much about tech stuff for the most part. Like I don't geek out about all of the stats of the Series X, for example. For me, it's just, does it run my game well? Does it look pretty? Does it run at 60 frames per second? Then I'm happy. Like, is it fun to play? Like, that's what matters more to me. So I think I'm maybe more on the side of like partnerships, like exclusives or Game Pass deals, because that's giving me the games and kind of giving me the ability to play games that maybe I missed, like I wouldn't have plunked down money for, like Outriders, for example, or even like MLB, a game that I was like on the fence about buying this year, but now I'm like, I'm all in on playing this year because I love playing baseball games. We talked about it before when they announced it was coming to Xbox. So I'm actually really excited to play that this year, and I don't have to buy it. So I have money to put towards Nier. So yeah, I think that's probably, for me personally, that probably excites me more than the tech innovation from Xbox. But again, that's only because I'm not like a super tech person. And for me, again, the games are always the number one choice for me.
Yeah, dude.
All right. And last question this week comes from Todd Oxtra at Toxtra. And he asks, if more Xbox first-party games were being released, do you think we'd see Xbox being so aggressive with third-party games day one on Game Pass? So, Todd, I actually think that you probably actually would see Xbox be as aggressive, but maybe a little less aggressive, if that makes any sense, towards acquiring third-party exclusives for their platform if they had a much larger output. But I think we're going to maybe see the results of this in a few years when we start getting those, the Fables, the Perfect Darks, when all those games start coming out. I think we're going to start to see whether Microsoft is going to continue throwing out money to all these developers. But I think they will, because when you look at a model like Netflix or a model like Amazon Prime, just because they have a glut of Amazon Prime shows coming out or Netflix exclusive shows coming out, that never has really stopped Netflix from going out and getting a bunch of exclusive video content on their platform from other companies, or at least I haven't really noticed that. But what do you think about this, Sean? Am I going on the crazy train here? What do you think Microsoft
No, I think you're right on. I think there's two things here. The first thing you kind of touched on is that Microsoft is addressing the gap in time between when they bought the studios and when they're actually going to have these games coming out on Game Pass and on Xbox. So that's one thing that they're addressing by being aggressive here. But on the competitive side, the thing that they're addressing is that Sony has their own game with exclusives and what they're doing. There's that game that they're talking about with Square, and of course the Final Fantasy deals that they've got going on there. Like, they're dealing with exclusivity on a third-party standpoint, on a timed exclusivity, and I feel like this is kind of addressing that head on, but it feels better. Like, there's no timed exclusivity or anything like that when it comes to MLB The Show. It's just, it puts it head to head. You can go $70 on PlayStation or included with Game Pass, and I feel like that's a better way to tackle that exclusivity on a third party standpoint. So I think it's those two things kind of coming together, and I don't know that they lighten up on this as the first party stuff comes out, because that is going to continue to be the way Sony does it over there. So Xbox is always going to have to combat the money being thrown at timed exclusivity for games to go over to PlayStation. If Microsoft lets up on this, then you're just going to see these games that could be coming day and date to Game Pass. They'll just be timed exclusives over for Sony because it'll just be wide open for them.
Yeah, not only that, but one nice thing that Game Pass does when they're aggressive in this way is that it allows them to bring games to the Game Pass platform that they can't develop or they don't develop, like sports games, for example. Like, Microsoft isn't developing sports games. So having all the arrangements with all the sports studios really gives them that segment of the market. Or again, maybe you could see them expand into being more aggressive and obtaining like family-friendly games, like any family-friendly game that's probably coming out. I'm sure Microsoft is going to be trying to throw them a check to get them to come to Game Pass. Like we get like a Super Lucky's Tale 2, or like if Ukulele and the Impossible Lair got a sequel or something like that. Like, I think that's the type of thing you could see Microsoft maybe going for aggressively. So
I literally just brought those. Did you listen to the Pants Patreon podcast for Patrons podcast? It's an exclusive bonus podcast for supporting Yumi Capri. Did you listen this week, Ryan?
No, I didn't.
Because I brought up both of those games, Super Lucky's Tale and the other one you mentioned, Super Lucky's Tale and Ukulele. Yeah. I brought both of those up in the exact same like context. It's amazing. God, you're in my mind.
I'm sorry for plagiarizing.
You're in my brain. No, you're in my brain. It's so sweet.
But Sean, we gotta go. But before we go, Sean, plugs go.
You can find me on Twitter at Sean Capri. It's Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. And I stream on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays with the community at twitch.tv/Sean Capri.
Very nice, my friend. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You also find us on Twitter at The Xbox Drive, on YouTube at youtube.com/The Xbox Drive, or on podcast services around the globe. So for Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 184 of The Xbox Drive. Only 16 more episodes before 200, and we're out.
Ryan Turford, I feel really, really good about this episode. I think we hit a lot of really good points. We talked about everything we wanted to talk about. We got great questions in from the audience, and I'm going to go to the chiropractor because I hurt my back again. Wish me luck.